Welcome to the Healing Heart Podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Healing Heart Podcast, and I am your host, Donna Campbell. My guest today is Cynthia Higgins, MD. Now, Cynthia is a physician, a spiritual life coach, an online course creator, a show host, who long ago recognized that many of our emotional and physical health issues represented a misalignment between our perception of life and the intended experience of our soul. She hosts the weekly empowerment series, Joyful Intentions, the Science and Spirit of Reclaiming Your Life. And that is on the WinWinWomenTV.com network. She's also the founder of Crack the Dharma Code, an online course who's seeking to share and deepen their spiritual experiences as empaths. Now, Dr. Higgins has over 25 years of experience, both as a psychiatrist and an oracle card reader. She has served for 18 years as a master level energy therapist, working with the angelic realm. She utilizes her knowledge of medicine and divine law to assist others in reframing symptoms and life experiences in a way that allows for personal and professional growth, spiritual growth. She is one of the top 5 practitioners worldwide trained in teaching the Angel Healing Protocol, a new energy therapy modality for elevating consciousness and manifesting the soul's purpose. And if that's not enough, you guys, she is the creator of an aromatherapy product line for supporting and strengthening the human bioengineering field. Now, she has been honored twice by the prestigious International Association of Top Professionals as the Top Energy Psychiatrist of 2019 and as a 2021 Empowered Woman of the Year. She is contributing authors in many different places, including America's Leading Ladies, Stories of Triumph and Courage, as well as a 2-time radio show personality for New York CUTV news series featuring alternative approaches in psychiatry. So everybody out there listening today, let's give a warm welcome here to Dr. Cynthia Higgins, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And such an awesome introduction. Appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. There's just so many different things and so many different avenues. You have a wide scope of and a wide range of different things that you do here. But one of the things that I wanted to ask about and talk about is a little bit about your work as a psychiatrist, but how it works with the emotional and the physical health issues, because you said it represents a misalignment between our perception and our lives and our experience of the soul. So can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'll be delighted. People often ask me, like when I'm on calls, one of the things that draws their attention is the bridge behind me. And it's very symbolic for me because, one side represents our science, the other side represents our spirituality. And by science, that, can mean all of the physical sciences, our traditional medicine. And what stands in the middle of that bridge is us, who we are, that we are products of both worlds. And when it comes to our emotions, one of the things that I teach in a lot of my courses, one of the things that I speak often about is the presence of our bioenergetic field. It is comprised of those energetic emanations from, our cells, our organs, our entire physical being, but they're also contributions from our emotions, contributions from our thoughts, contributions from, that realm of existing, if you will, the beliefs that constitute what we call our spiritual aura, our spiritual nature. And very often I find that, people coming to me for my services, and it really doesn't matter what end of the spectrum they're entering on, that, perhaps they've aligned themselves with a belief that isn't true. And, that dynamic tension that exists between, the fallout of that belief and the truth of who we are as spiritual beings, it creates a significant amount of discomfort, that often shows up, as depression. It shows up in many ways in several forms of anxiety, particularly when, part of our spiritual way of being is to receive input from the universe around us. This is one of the reasons why I have, such a special place in my heart for empaths, because, the majority of my clientele in psychiatry are people who suffer from anxiety issues, and still a larger percentage of them are actually empathic, and some of them don't even realize it. And so when we expand that lens to include, oh, this is what's going on, this is what I'm perceiving, then it's a lot easier to put some distance between, the physical occurrence of some of those symptoms, to actually put a container around it and learn how to manage one's energy versus the energy of the world. And in doing that, we're able to then reestablish healthy boundaries in just about all areas of our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I wanted to ask about with you is when we're talking about that energetic field that's around us, that our organs, our cells emulate with our beliefs, with our thoughts, with our feelings. I wanted to ask, because mental health is so incredibly important out in the world today. Yes. And what I see a lot of is anxiety and depression. So I'm curious, what does anxiety and depression do to that energetic field around the body?
Oh my, that's a loaded question, but it's one that I love to speak about. When we are anxious, very often, if you've ever noticed, there are very few people who are anxious about the here and now. It's always future oriented. Yeah. And, we get into this habit of projecting. Sometimes it's current circumstances, sometimes it's past circumstances onto our future. And, our energy is so powerful that, we imprint upon each other. We literally create a template in the universe. And when we're proceeding with that anxiety, or when those fears, that focus on everything we don't want to happen is preceding us, it's like we're literally creating copies, in the template of the universe to respond and give us back exactly what it is we don't want. Yeah. And, that's one of the things where if we were perhaps aligning with the now, the focus that, okay, this goes back to a lot of, Eckhart Tolle's work, when we look at where we are in the moment, we can certainly recognize, wow, this is an outcome that, I don't wish to receive. And knowing our co-creative potential, if we turn that energy towards what it is we do want, well, again, not only have we freed ourselves from the emotional impact of everything that we're fearing, but we're also creating that future. And probably one of the, the largest factors at play here is that whether or not we're in a threatening situation or we're perceiving a situation as threatening, the body can't tell the difference. And so, we might be a perfectly safe place, but in our anxious state, again, this future projection, what we might feel, what we might experience, and that's a big word, might, yeah, the body can't tell the difference. So it's responding as if the threat is now. Yeah. And so you go into all of that physiological change, the elevations of our blood pressure, the elevations of our heart rate, the constriction of our breathing, the literal shift from what we call a state of homeostasis where, all of the repair and the breakdown functions of the body are in balance, into crisis mode where a lot of critical functions are bypassed based on this perceived need to protect ourselves. Right. Over time, we get a progressive wearing away of our ability to fight off disease. And, to withstand stress. It's the ideal example of what we call adrenal fatigue when we're always on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
here. One more question here before we go to our sponsor break. Now, in your first answer, you were talking about the bridge behind you because you are the bridge between your two worlds. And I believe that wholeheartedly because the heart space is the bridge between our mind, our thinking thoughts, our spiritual self, as well as our earthly living day-to-day and our physical body. And that heart is the bridge. But when it gets tied into like the anxiety and the depression and what happens in our energy field here, what is one tip that you can give people when they start experiencing that anxiety to recenter or refocus that heart space so they can walk across that bridge with courage and with bravery and with kindness and the right energy, not the energy we want to leave behind?
One of the simplest and yet profound ways of doing that is grounding. And it's literally wherever you are, is crossing your hands on your knees. Yeah, it helps also to balance the, different hemispheres of the brain. And it brings us back to a focal point of now. And in that space of now, if we begin to breathe, if we are aware that we are divinely connected, we're divinely supported, we breathe in that support, we breathe out, that stress, we breathe out that anxiety. So it all goes back to breath and connection, remembering to embrace the connection that we all have.
All right, perfect. So everybody, you are listening here to the Healing Heart podcast. And our guest today is Dr. Cynthia Higgins. And we are going to be taking a quick break here for our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to resume our talk. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. All right, welcome back to the Healing Heart podcast. I am your host, Donna Campbell, and today our guest is Dr. Cynthia Higgins. Now, she's a physician, a spiritual life coach, an online course creator, and a show host, an author of books, and so many more things. And what we've been talking about is the effects of anxiety and depression and how it affects your mental health and the energy body. And just before we went to the break, she shared that one of the quickest ways to pull yourself out of that anxiety state is by grounding and by using your breath, releasing the stress and breathing in the support that you are needing. So what would you say when you talk about grounding? Maybe some of our listeners don't know exactly what that means. They might be new to the healing world. So what is the easiest way to ground while you are breathing?
When I think about us as energetic beings and the fact that when we become highly anxious, highly stressed, and if I go about this from a psychiatry perspective, one of the effects of anxiety is that it's so uncomfortable and honestly so unnatural for us that we have this tendency to almost want to leave our bodies. It's like, oh, it isn't comfortable here. I don't like the space. And so what we often find is that without that grounding, that centering of our awareness, because basically that's what grounding is, without that, we are prone to panic attacks. There are even people when that anxiety is so severe, might even go into what we call a dissociative state, where literally the consciousness kind of leaves their body. They lose awareness of their surroundings, sometimes even their own identity. And so, excuse me, grounding is more of a focus of our awareness on generally something tangible, something physical. We often think about earth energy in and of itself. It has that grounding nature because it's solid. It gives us an anchor point around which to reset our internal energetic as well as our emotional thermostat. And, it's just such a great way to recover from stress, or say, you receive a shock or something. Here's some shocking news. Yeah. One of the best things we can do.
Yes, absolutely there. Now, you have a show called Joyful Intentions, the Science and Spirit of Reclaiming Your Life. Can you share with us what that's about and the scope of your show there on the WinWinWomenTV.com network?
Yes. I conceived of this, as a way, again, of providing an example of how we are that bridge. And one of the things that it focuses on is literally the science behind our beliefs, how our beliefs affect our bodies energetically. I'm a great big fan of this branch of science called epigenetics. And for anyone who doesn't know about that, okay, so it's the study of our DNA. Right. But it's also the study of how we experience changes to the expression of that DNA in the absence of changes to the DNA itself. And one of the greatest findings is that our perceptions can do that. Our perceptions can determine what genes are expressed and which ones aren't. And so the practical application of that, particularly in the mental health field, is something called energy psychology. And, it's taking a bit from all of those realms and applying it. Literally, it's a body, mind, and spiritual approach to emotional wellness. So the show focuses on illustrating those points. And we often take a particular challenge, say anxiety, depression. I've even done segments on who we are when we're in love, what happens to us energetically when we're in love. Yes. What happens to us, energetically when we're arguing with someone, and how we can then, kind of take on responsibility for our own energetic hygiene, because it really does determine the experiences that we have in the world. And that is a power that most people don't know that they have. Yeah. We are not helpless, victims to our genes or even to our environment. Yeah.
So, all right, I need to know, what happens to us when we no longer have the anxiety and depression and we go into that love state? What transformation takes place for the people, for the clients?
Oh, notice how I smile when you say that. It is remarkable the expansion that we experience. And it isn't just an expansion emotionally, it's energetic as well. We begin to maximize those connections we have with others, particularly through what I call our collective consciousness. We are connected to everyone on the planet, everything on the planet, every being in the spiritual realms. And we're so much easier able to access those connections, to utilize that comfort, but to also utilize that wisdom. We even derive wisdom from parts of ourselves that we didn't realize exist. Yeah. We often talk about our chakra systems, our energy systems. And when we are in that state of balance and harmony and love and peace, we can tap into that. We bring forth information that is meant for us to receive and achieve, such as abundance, such as, harmonious relationships. All of it becomes possible. I look at all of the things we've discussed, all of those challenges as learning opportunities. And again, it goes back to perspective. We can see them as obstacles in our way, or we can see them as ways in which we can break that glass ceiling of some of those limitations our former perceptions may have created on the expression of who we are and what we experience in this lifetime. Yeah.
Wow. So if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you to look at and see what they've been doing, how to go through their own transformation, to go into that love state, change their perception and see the effects on their body, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably going to my website, which is called joyfulintentions.net. Feel free to explore that. One of the things that's actually coming on the website that I haven't posted yet is the first module of a course that I'm creating. You can try it out for free, but there's also a link there to schedule what we call a clarity call with me, where we take a look at what's going on in your life. We create a plan as to how to create that bridge between where you are and where you desire to be if things aren't working well. So,
all right. I love it. And for those that are listening, go check out Dr. Cynthia Higgins' website and connect with her there. And all of that information, of course, will always be in the show notes. So you can go back and take a look for the actual link as well. So Dr. Cynthia Higgins, thank you so much for being a guest here with us today on the Healing Heart podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. And for everybody else, just go create that beautiful day.